And our topic is Inside AI, Understanding the Language. Let us welcome Dr. Dominic Ligon.
Gising pa ba kayo? Galing, ah. Sige, who here is not using AI? Okay, tapos na yung talk ko. Thank you very much. Hindi, meron isa sa likod. Okay, so I'm sure you've heard about artificial intelligence as a buzzword. So ang promise ko sa inyo is after this afternoon's session, hindi na siya buzzword. No? You'll be able to talk about it in a good way. I don't know if my slides are already showing. No? So the title of my talk is, ayan, tama. The title of my talk is Inside Generative AI. Bakit generative? That's actually part of what I will share today. Kasi maraming klaseng AI. No? So first things first, about myself. I'm sorry to break the illusion, pero hindi po ako talaga doktor. That's actually my name, no? Doc Ligon. Ang history po niyan, back when I was grade 2, who here was grade 2 once upon a time? Alam nyo nung grade 2, di ba, ang problema natin, yung mga ipin natin nalalaglag. Your baby teeth falls out. So I had these two big permanent teeth na lumabas. So mukha akong Bugs Bunny. And kaya siya naging Doc Ligot. Kasi ang binibiro ako, what's up, Doc? No, so that's the history of it. Pero you know, nowadays, the question of who is a doctor or not matters very, very little now. Kasi nga AI can help people become doctors if they want. In fact, I teach doctors a lot. So a little bit about myself. I run a company called Cyrolytics. We started out as a boutique consulting firm. And over the years, actually ang specialty namin is data analytics. Tapos ngayon, AI na. We have a small booth at the back. Please check it out. Very humble booth. Ang business namin po is training. So we do generative AI training. Mamaya I'll explain the mechanics of what we do. At the same time, I also am an educator. So I'm an active faculty sa University of Asia and the Pacific. I co-wrote their master's degree in analytics. Kasi nga, napakabago niyang term. Nagka-catch up pa lang yung mga schools natin. And right now, I'm working with DepEd, CHED, and TESDA to roll out courses in AI. No? Pero for the meantime na wala pang mga major programs, I know there's only at least 1 or 2 schools offering AI classes. I do it myself. I also teach public webinars. No? So ang objective natin this afternoon, just so we're clear, I'm here to share with you everything I know about AI and hopefully invite you to use it. No? I think with the exception of two people sa likod, everyone's using it. Pero are you really using it to its best parang purpose? At the same time, narinig ko kanina in the first table I sat, there's a lot of concerns about AI. So I'm here to also talk about the ethics of it, the safety of it. I think the word ethics is very important to this community. Meron nga ako nakitang libro kanina sa bookstore sa labas about how to handle ethical issues. So we're going to talk about the ethical issues about artificial intelligence. And more, no? Sige. First question. How many here think photography is art? Most of you. How many do not think it's art? Merong isang wala. No? So, yes, it's art. Pero would you believe na once upon a time, panahon ni Rizal, 19th century, photography was not considered art? Do you know that? So the first cameras started emerging literally in the 1800s, no? Panahon nga ni Jose Rizal. That's why we have photographs of Jose Rizal. But during that time, it was considered documentation. So hindi siya considered as a fine art. And that was an interesting time, no? Kasi ang nangingibabaw na art forms then was painting, watercolor, oil on canvas. So the works of Leonardo, Michelangelo, Rembrandt, yan ang mundo. And then somebody invented this box that interprets light. And people said, wala yan, hindi pwedeng art yan. Because it's the box that does the work. Literally, pipindutin lang ng photographer. So, ganun ang sitwasyon. Kind of reminds you of how AI is treated today, no? Kasi you can generate pictures with AI, but people find it hard to admit na AI art is art. I'll let you be the judge mamaya, no? We'll examine some AI artwork. So ganyan yung mundo for about 100 years until the early 20th century. I don't know if you know any of these names. Dorothea Lang, she popularized portrait photography. So yung mga unang mga works niya came out in National Geographic. No? Black and white pa lang. Then Alfred Stieglitz popularized landscape photography. And so did Ansel Adams. So early 20th century, nag-change na yung perception of photography as art. But many artists were still resistant. Particularly yung mga, sino na nagpagawa dito ng portrait? Sa mga artists in malls? Have you ever done that? If you do that, what do they ask from you? A picture, yeah. So ganun yung mundo. For the longest time, they resisted photography. And then later nag-merge. So the portraiture artists, they felt photography was gonna steal their jobs. And actually, that was true. Until later, they realized, imbis na kung panahon ni Rizal papagawa ka ng portrait, you'll have to pose for hours, no, until the artist gets you. And you have to keep coming back with the same clothes until makompleto niya yung portrait mo. Nowadays, bigyan mo na lang ng picture. And they'll be the ones to come up with, with the portrait. That is eventually the merger of photography into painting. It became art. Now, here's an interesting thing. I don't know if you're also aware, no? So number one, photography was not considered art. Number two, art changed because of photography. So before photography, if you looked at art before the 19th century, you'll notice that all of the art tried to be realistic. So if you look at the works of Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, the Sistine Chapel, they were trying to capture the proportions of the human body. It's as if they were painting photographs before photography was a word. And then nauso na yung photography, there was resistance, and then later, tinanggap na ng mga tao, what happened? Suddenly, art became abstract. So the works of Salvador Dali, Pablo Picasso, pansin nyo? Before, yung panahon ni Rembrandt, I had the privilege of seeing a Rembrandt in the flesh, no, in Spain. It's like looking at a photograph, pero made of paintings. And then nung lumabas na yung photography, biglang naging weird, twisted yung art. It became cubist, pointillism. No? If you studied art history, that's the way it is. So it was as if, before photography, artists wanted to capture the real world. And then nung lumabas yung photography, parang sinabi ng mga artists, alam mo, hindi na natin matatalo yung photographs. Yan na yung way of capturing the real world. Let's just do something else. So art became abstract. It became about colors. It became about expression. I like this story because as we talk about AI, ganyan yung nangyayari sa atin. AI is writing, doing copywriting. AI is generating photographs. AI is doing essays. Di ba yan yung problema ng mga schools ngayon? Ginagamit na ng mga estudyante yung AI to pass their exams. And this is what's happening. This is what happened in photography. No? Now, there was another wave that happened in photography that serves to underscore the point. How many here have used Photoshop? Diba? It's very common. Did you know na nung unang lumabas yung Photoshop, people didn't want to use it? This was the Photoshop nung panahon ko, version 5, lumang-luma. And what made Photoshop popular was digital photography. And then I don't know if some of you were hardcore classic photographers before. You wouldn't use digital. You know, have you ever experienced developing your own pictures? You'll sacrifice a washroom in your house, yun na yung developing lab mo. No one can ever use it again after that because of all the chemicals. And then Kodak was the king of photography. I remember before, you had to buy special film if you wanted your photographs to come out vibrantly. Parang yung popular film was ASA 100 and ASA 200. I don't know if you remember that, no? But if you wanted really good photographs, you would buy ASA 400, ASA 1000. Because the better film is more expensive, can absorb light. And then slowly but surely, digital photography took over. And nung naging digital na lahat ng photography, Photoshop became popular. This was the concern when Photoshop came out. It violates the truth daw kasi you can alter photos. So even back then, they were worried about fake news. They were worried about manufactured images. And the creation of false images was the fear. Pero now, parang people take it for granted. And then we have AI ngayon. AI is the new kid on the block. It's not just affecting art, it's affecting education. So I wanted to give you that background, no, before we get deeper into AI. So this diagram here comes from Gartner. No? Gartner is an industry analyst. They talk about trends in technology. So this is supposed to describe the many types of what we call analytics. No? I don't want to get into too much detail, but at the end of the day, it starts with data. And then bahala ka what you do with data. I'm sure many here use Microsoft Excel. Have you used that? No? So you get data, you create visualizations. Yung AI is here on the lower right hand. It's part of what we call prescriptive analytics. So hindi lang siya pag-analyze ng data, it's actually using data to give you a prescription. For example, how many here use Waze? Have you used Waze? No? So you get from point A to B. Waze is an example of AI. You just put your destination and it uses your location in a map and it uses traffic data from what it gathers from other Waze users, and then it gives you an estimated time of arrival. That for me is the essence of what AI is. No? You use data, it gives you a suggestion, and then you follow, or you decide not to follow the suggestion, up to you. Pero binibigyan kanya ng options. Pero that was, I would say, the simplest form of AI. Ngayon, what we have, what we call generative AI. So ano yung ibig sabihin ng generative? No? And why do I want to draw a distinction? Up until November 2022, that was when ChatGPT launched. Pag sinabi mong AI, it's a very niche subject. Parang not many people know about it. No? Kasi ang AI na ginagamit nun was called discriminative. This is AI that can tell data apart from each other. So if you use discriminative AI, it can detect whether a picture is a cat or a dog. It includes statistical analysis. Pero yung generative AI is a slightly different approach. No? So kung ang discriminative AI is about telling cats from dogs, ang generative AI is about creating more cats, creating more dogs. Kaya siya generative, it generates data. So when you give a picture of a cat to generative AI, it can create more cats. Mamaya I'll explain that, no? That's deepfakes. Or you prompt it with the word cat, it'll create a cat. Or I think most of you have used ChatGPT. Diba? You ask a question, it gives you an answer. Another way of appreciating the difference, have you heard of the term left and right brain? Okay. Apparently, it's not biologically true pala. No? But anyway, we'll use that as an analogy. Pag sinabing left brain ka, you're quantitative, you're logical, you're perceptive. That's discriminative AI. If you are right-brained, you're more creative, you're more expressive, you're more artistic. That's generative AI. So the point here is, they don't replace each other. They can work together. But the most important part about generative AI, which I feel is the case, kasi most of you have used it, you don't have to be a programmer to use generative AI. Literally, you can write prompts in English. Actually, I don't know, nagpa-prompt ba kayo in Tagalog? Bisaya? Okay. It's not limited to English, and I'll explain that in a bit. No? So what is generative AI all about? It's all about content. Kaya I was very happy watching, at least for the afternoon, yung mga sessions kanina about yung mga content creators, how to deal with trolls and bashers. So it looks like everyone here is a content creator. If you're a content creator, you have to be on generative AI. Kasi generative AI is all about content. So when these tools first came out, parang ang dating, are you familiar with the term autocomplete? Parang siyang autocomplete, no? You type a search, tas tatapusin niya. Or you type an email, then tatapusin niya. But actually, si Ilya Sutskever, who was the chief scientist of OpenAI, the creator of ChatGPT, said, we created these models to do next word prediction. But when we solved next word prediction, we came up with something far more powerful. Kahit sila nagulat when they came up with it. The best way to explain it is with an example. No? So this was one of my first conversations with ChatGPT. No? Sabi ko, here's a process. Get a cup, add milk, powder. I misspelled powder accidentally. Add sugar, add coffee powder, add ice, drink coffee. What's missing from this process? Do you know what's missing? Basahin nyo na mabuti. How can you drink something without water? Tama. So nagulat ako that ChatGPT knew the answer. No? Sabi niya, oh, you forgot to boil the water. You forgot to brew the coffee. You forgot to stir. You forgot to strain. You forgot to add flavor. So your process should be like this. Pinagalitan pa ako. Get cup, boil water, add coffee powder. So alam niya na powder yung sinasabi ko. Brew coffee, add sugar, add milk powder, stir well, strain coffee, add ice, add flavor, drink coffee. So this was circa 2023, January. I was an early tester of ChatGPT as early as August 2022. I was testing it already. And even like many people, I thought this is just autocomplete. But then when I saw this, sabi ko, this is not autocomplete. This is something that understands what drinking means. How can you drink something na walang liquid, di ba? Walang water. This is something that understands what coffee is. Can you imagine how hard it would be to create something like that? Sabi ko, wow, this is beyond anything that we've ever experienced before. So we think this is predicting words, pero I think this is something more powerful. This is something that understands us, as reflected in language. Medyo deep siya, no? Even up to now, I still grapple with the idea. So, for example, when you're listening to me now, do you see words in your head? Anyone? You don't. If you do, have some coffee muna. Because we don't think in terms of words. Kanina, we were talking about words. Our faith is based on words. But actually, words is something we produce. We speak words. But the data that we have in our brain, if you think about it, hindi words. We have sight, smell, taste, touch, sound. We have memories. We have emotions. So, iba yung data natin. However, these models, all they know is words. That's how intelligent they are. They're intelligent in a different way. Kaya minsan, nalilito yung mga tao, ito na ba yung AI na Terminator? I heard someone talk about Terminator earlier on the table. I don't think so. Because it doesn't think like us. But I think we would be remiss if we underestimated what these models could do. So I want to explain this a bit, no, as a process, no. So I'll get into deep, no, how these models actually work, and it's about embeddings. So for example, if you have a phrase, "We go to work by train," and you feed that into an AI model, what happens is it's broken into its component tokens, no. So each word here is a token. And then imagine they train these models on billions and billions of text. Pretty much everything on the free internet, napasok na sa models na yan. And kinabisado nila every word that appears before the word work and every word that appears after work. Can you imagine that? That's how kaya they call it large language models. So why did they do this? The idea was straightforward. If we know the words that precede the word work, and we know the words that happen after work, baka we can predict the next word and then do that recursively again and again and again. So let's say itong mga combinations na to, after reading all of it, they find some common words that appear with the word work. It's possible, di ba? Hundreds of millions of words. And then what they do, without getting into too much detail, lahat ng mga combination na yan have a number sequence. Think of it like a combination lock. No? Every combination, there's about 150 numbers in an embedding, represents a combination of words. And why would you want to do that? The moment kasi, if some mathematicians are in the house, the moment you converted it into numbers, you can now group them by similarity. So the word football is similar to soccer. The word sea is similar to ocean. The word I is similar to we. Why? Because of the embeddings we know, most likely the word soccer and the word football appear in the same place. No? We're getting deep into it. So ano yung halaga niyan? Well, the importance of that is, once we know words that are similar together, you can now group them into themes. And this is really what's happening inside the model. Pag may nag-type ka ng prompt, titingnan niya kada isang word na linagay mo. Sa hanapin niya, ano ba yung possible words that can extend from this? No? And that's how they built these models. It sounds very complex, but it's actually a feat of technological engineering. Kasi now, you have models that can finish sentences. So as early as 2020, may ganyan na. GPT-1 pa lang, tsaka GPT-2. But now we're using GPT-4, no? And initially it was GPT-3. What was the big change nung lumabas to? So if you think about it, if you have a machine that can finish sentences, that's not really very useful. Kasi why would you use that for? So OpenAI, when they were still a foundation, OpenAI Foundation, they said, people don't really need a machine that can finish sentences. What they need is a machine that can answer questions. So inaaral nila yan. And that brings me to this next feat. No? I hope you don't mind I dive into deeper. Para when you talk about AI, you know what happens. RLHF, Reinforcement Learning Through Human Feedback. This is the secret that turned GPT into ChatGPT. And I'll break it down for you. First step is they hired people to answer questions. So tao din yung pinanggalingan. So they have a long list of questions. And for several years, they hired people in Kenya. Don't know why it's in Kenya. Apparently nowadays, nangyayari na rin yan sa Pilipinas. And you just answer questions. It doesn't necessarily mean that the people who answered the questions know what they were talking about. Basta sagot lang ng sagot. And they gathered all of these question and answer pairs and they trained that into GPT. Step 2. So marunong nang sumagot si GPT, but is the answer correct? So what they did now was they asked GPT, okay, here's another question. Give us 4 or more answers. And then they hired the same people again. Oh, mga Kenyans, can you grade the answers? So tao rin yung nagbigay ng input. So now you have a step where the GPT learns how to answer questions. And another step where another model is used to grade the answers. So yung mga scores na binigay nila is put in a second model. No? Why do you want to do that? Kasi once you have 2 models, one can answer questions and one can score the answer, pwede mo na silang ipaglaban. And that's what reinforcement learning is. So now the model that can answer questions will answer, and then the model that will grade the answers will grade, and you do that millions and millions of times until the average grade of the model is high enough. That's what they did. And they launched this in November 2022. That's why for people who use ChatGPT for the first time, were you shocked that this thing actually makes sense? Although later I'll show you na it also makes mistakes. Pero for the most part, I'd say 95% of the time, you ask a question, it can answer the question. It's because of that process that people can now ask real human questions and the answer will come out in a very real fashion. And that brings me to this term, no? Prompt engineering. Kanina, some people were inquiring sa booth namin, ano yan, pang engineer lang? Actually, no. I feel that the term prompt engineering is really badly named. Kasi prompt engineering simply is talking to AI. But it is a skill you have to learn. Give you an example, no? So these 2 images, from this text, count each word, return the result. And then the code here on the left, they do the same thing. I don't know if any programmers are here, no? Word counting. I know this because when I got the answer to that prompt, I asked ChatGPT, can you rewrite this prompt in JavaScript? And sinulat niya. And I tested it. So this is another thing that people don't realize. There are many things that previously required programming. Ngayon, you can do it even if you're a non-programmer. Kasi nga, the ChatGPT can write code for you. And now there are many chatbots, no? Hindi lang ChatGPT. I think by this time, the running tally is there's about 10,000 models. But the top 10 are the most popular. You have Google Bard, which is now called Gemini. You have Perplexity. You have Claude. At the end of the day, and here's the most fun part, all these models are free to use. But they have a paid version also. Yung paid has special features. Pero for the most part, what I will share with you today, you can do on any of the AI model kahit libre. Okay? This is the secret sauce behind prompt engineering. Most people will do the part in blue. Is that what you do? You treat, how many here treat AI like Google? Isang tanong, isang sagot. Some of you do. That's actually useful, but that's the least powerful way to use these models. The secret is, and if you remember yung explanation ko kanina about embeddings, the more data you feed the chatbot, the more accurate the response. Kaya when you hear complaints about hallucinations, AI will lie, tingnan nyo muna paano mo ma-prenumt. Did you just ask a question na about some obscure term and the AI responded to you? Or did you actually feed more information into the AI? So I noticed most people will do what we call a zero-shot prompt. Yung isang tanong, isang sagot. But the better way, and hopefully after today, you learn this, is to do few shot and chaining. Pag sinabing few shot, give information first. Parang yung kanina, here's a process, what's missing. It's an example of a few shot. Binigyan ko muna siya ng listahan, and somehow, kahit na mali ko yung power tsaka powder, nagets niya. The best way is what we call chaining. You actually have a conversation with the chatbot. So for example, a zero-shot prompt is, what is AI? Full stop. And sasagot naman siya. A few-shot prompt is, here's an article, give me a summary, return it as a table. That's a better way of prompting. Kasi nga, you're focusing the attention of the chatbot on the info you've given. But the best is itong chaining. And how does that work? Let's say you want to do a SWOT analysis. You've heard of that? Strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Maybe you do know that or you don't. You can easily say, give me a SWOT analysis for this problem. But the better way to do it is, tanungin niyo muna si chatbot para kayo nagliligawan. Do you know what SWOT means? Can you explain it to me? Tapos papaliwanag niya. It might even make a mistake kasi it's a zero-shot question. So you keep repeating, that's not how I understand SWOT to be. I think it's this. Can you confirm? And then eventually it will say, okay, this is what SWOT is. And maybe you're satisfied. Then saka mo na siya tanungin. Okay, this is my problem. Give me a SWOT for that. No? It seems counterintuitive kasi most of us want to get a fast answer as soon as possible. But really, that's how you make these models work best. No? So for example, this is how I normally get presentations done these days. No? Sabi ko, can you give me a 10-slide outline for a presentation in generative AI in journalism? And gagawa naman siya ng outline. In fact, this presentation I'm giving you now was generated using AI. But that's still zero shot. A better way is, about a year ago, the Amazon company, there were a lot of strikes. People were walking out of their offices because of a problem with their management. So I saw this article, I thought it was interesting, pero super haba. So I copied the entire text of the article, I put it in the chatbot. That's another thing about these chatbots. The chat box looks deceptively small, pero ang dami mong pwedeng ilagay doon na data. So I put it there, and I said, okay, from the article, can you give me the plot, the tone, the theme, the setting, the conflict, the characters, and the point of view? And what happened? Sinagot niya. The plot, people are staging protests. What's the theme? The theme is about employee discontent. What's the tone? Urgent and concerned. What's the conflict? Management, climate change, and people. It's like having I don't know, gumamit ba kayo ng Cliff Notes nung college? Or Barron's Book Notes? Usually for book review. Siyempre, teachers hate that, no? They'd rather you read Fyodor Dostoevsky na ganyang kakapal. Ako, I'll just buy the 100. Noong time na yun, 100 peso Barron's Book Notes. So that's what this is. You get a Barron's Book Notes for anything in life. Right at the palm of your hand, no? Here's another example. So again, about a year ago, Senator Marcos, si Aimee, wanted to inquire about the effect of AI on jobs. Yun yung concern. And this is an article that came out. Sabi ko, what is this article all about? So again, I copied the entire article, I pasted it on the chatbot, and sabi ko, okay, can you give me 3 ways this article can be misunderstood? It's one of my favorite prompts. So I'm not asking it for facts anymore. I'm asking it for opinion. No? So sabi naman niya, okay. So after basahin, here's the 3 misunderstandings. No? People might misunderstand the impact of AI. People might interpret the job displacement as immediate. People might think AI is inherently negative. Tama naman lahat yon. Those are all speculative opinions. But for someone like me who didn't have the time to read all of this article, I'm now more informed. No? Another example, and this is what you might find useful, there is a chatbot that I like called Perplexity. No? You can visit it at perplexity.ai. It's a better version of ChatGPT kasi it gives you citations. So if you ask a piece of info, bibigyan ka niya ng mga links. No? And then I remember I was giving this presentation in Century Park, no? sa Manila, at the old Century Park. And then sa bad timing, nagkaroon ng fire drill during my talk. So imagine I'm giving this talk, suddenly the speaker goes, code green, code red, code blue. I didn't know what they meant. So on the spot, sabi ko, okay, Perplexity, can you explain to me what terms like code blue and code orange mean? And list down everything. Are you familiar with those terms? Code green, code blue, code orange. If you worked in a hospital, you would. Kasi these are medical emergencies, no? So for example, yung code blue means someone is about to die. Code white means it's a child. Code red means there's a fire. Paborito ko yung code green. Code green means there's a mass casualty event. Code silver, yung nangyari kay Trump, there's a shooter. Sabi ko, napaka-deceptive naman ng mga kulay na to. They look so cheerful, but they mean something very morbid. And actually, that was intentional pala. These codes are meant to alert the hospital staff about an emergency, but they're all very cheerful colors so that you don't create alarm with the people. Did you know that? I didn't know that. But now I do. No? Maybe doctors know that, no? If I was a real doctor. But the bottom line here is, you now have the world's knowledge at your fingertips. And people are still wondering what certifications they need to take to get a job. Diba? I don't think people have realized that you can suddenly know something about something that you don't know about just by asking AI that question. Don't you think that that's a powerful tool? Diba? Okay, so one last example for text, and then we'll go to images naman. No? There is a popular tool called Chat PDF. And the way it works is, so ang dami nyo pwedeng itanong sa AI. But what if you wanted to ask it about private information that the internet does not know? Well, this thing is called RAG, where you connect your private information with the AI so that when you ask information, let's say, kunyari in a company, no, what's our sales for the past 3 months? And please give me advice on how to improve our sales. Siyempre, hindi niya alam yung sales mo, pero alam niya siguro how to improve sales. So through RAG, the data from your sales can get uploaded into AI and then it can become intelligent. So my favorite app is called Chat PDF. No, here. Here you can upload a PDF and then you can talk to the PDF. So are you familiar with the poem Desiderata? You heard of that? Some of you mga gurang, you would know that. So I uploaded Desiderata, no? And then sabi niya, welcome to this helpful PDF file. This document encourages you to find peace and silence, etc. So sabi ko, sige, Desiderata, how should I deal with loud people? Sabi niya, you should avoid them because they can be vexatious to the spirit. It's essentially a line in the poem. I uploaded my CV. Give me 5 career directions, no, for Dominic Ligot. Number 4 done is, go to Lipa and give a talk at the CBCP event. But anyway, the idea here is, this is such a great tool to manage knowledge, to give career advice. Have you ever done that? Give good career advice? Just this morning, I did an exercise sa BGC, no? And people were so excited. You upload your CV, then you go to LinkedIn, get a job description of a job that you like, and then paste it on the chatbot and say, can you assess my CV against this job description? And give me 5 concrete ways I can qualify for that job. That's a very specific question. I don't think any career counselor can tell you that. And yet, the chatbot did it. Okay, so enough about text. Text is boring, no? I think the exciting part about AI is you can use the same tools for images and audio then, no? I'll give you examples. So there are many image generation tools. The best one is Midjourney. Pero meron ding Leonardo, Picasso. They named them after the artists, no? This is examples of pictures I generated using Midjourney. Okay? Very plush interior, very nice photo, almost photo quality. What would you say if I shared that you can generate these pictures with just 2 words? So these pictures were generated using the term maximalist hospitality. So maximalist apparently is a keyword that every time you add into a prompt, it generates pictures full of detail. Mamaya, I'll share you some more keywords. But can you imagine that? 2 words, and you're generating pictures. Here's another example, no? Filipina model, black 19th century Gothic dress, photorealistic. So that's an example of a keyword prompt in Midjourney. And battle mech walking in a desert landscape. So you can either write stories or give keywords, and then you now have photos. And then now we're in the era where it's text to video now. You can feed this into another AI called Runway, and it will generate video out of it. In fact, now you can prompt a video directly from scratch. This is the story, gagawa na siya ng video. That's why from a creativity standpoint, if you're looking to create a lot of content, eto na. You don't need to film everything. You can just ask AI to generate the stock video for you, and then you can splice it into your content. No? Here are some examples of other keywords. exploded. So you say cat exploded. It generates an explosion of whatever the subject is. I'll just use cats, no, for the time being. Or banana as a cat. Or cat, symmetrical flat icon design. So if you're creating icons or logos, you can use AI for that. Or cat vintage photo. I like this prompt. It gives you what a photograph of a cat looks like back in the 19th century. Or you can put yourself in a vintage photo. Cat origami. So this is creating paper cats. Diba? And so on and so forth. Here's a very, very elaborate prompt. No? And this is the standard for Midjourney prompts. No? So you specify the camera, Canon EOS R5 50mm DSLR. And then the subject, young Filipina CEO. And then what is she wearing? What is she doing? Sitting on a chair by a swimming pool, wearing business casual, colorful, enjoying, slightly smiling. And you get a rather cool image of a fake person. This person does not exist, although she looks very familiar, no? Now, this is version 5 of Midjourney, 2023. If you change that parameter dito, yung V5, and you turn it to V6, ganyan na yung lalabas. So you put them side by side, no? This is version 5, this is version 6. I don't know what happened, bakit nagmukhang mas mistisa yung babae, pero that's another thing to wonder. So the point I want to make here is, these tools are still evolving. Imagine in 1 year, you went from this, which was a pretty good photo na, to that. What will these tools look like a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? We were talking about deepfakes. Dati, it used to take a lot of programming to do it. Ngayon, you generate a photo in Midjourney. Sabi ko, 19th century Filipino priest. And then I have my photo. And then I am now a 19th century Filipino priest. Actually, yung mga corporate headshots, ang dali nang gawin, no? Another AI like Kria, you can prompt a picture, and then you can use the shapes on the left to create iterations of that picture in real time. So this is like clip art on steroids. That's why artists, some of them are actually worried about this. Kasi what would have taken ages to create photographs or art, dalawang click lang, tapos na. The same way photography actually scared the painters once upon a time, before they embraced it. You can use AI to animate a photo. In fact, this is really popular. You get a still photo, and it's animated, or you can even enhance the photo. So now, image to video is actually quite easy. And then with text to video, it's even better. So the top text to video now is Kling and Luma. No? Kling is on the left, Luma is on the right. Kling is a Chinese AI, no? And you can see how good the photos are, no? Yan. Would you know that that's a completely fake person? Oh, mamaya, I'll show you a fake person that I created, no? So that's images. Udio naman is an example of an AI that does music. One of the favorite features I have of Udio is you can upload a clip, any audio clip, and it will generate an extended version of that clip. So for example, I hope the sound comes out, no? So that's the original clip. Then Udio takes over and creates a new clip.
Gone the days of old and pattern.
So, di ba? You don't have to be a musician to create music. Okay? Have you ever done this? Okay. So it gets better or it gets worse, no? So here's another tool called HeyGen. HeyGen is a tool that can create avatars. Now, one feature I like about HeyGen is it can take a video of anyone, of yourself, and then it can do an auto-translation of it. So here's a video of mine, nothing special. I recorded this.
So there's been some discussions lately about what's now being called digital sweatshops, particularly the data annotation.
Okay, so this is the translated version.
Entonces ha habido algunas discusiones últimamente sobre lo que ahora se llama talleres de sudor digital.
I don't speak Spanish. Promise. And then if you look closely at the microphone, yung nakausling ganun, no? you'll see it gets distorted, no?
Especialmente el trabajo de anotación de datos que se realiza a través de una plataforma llamada Remote Tasks, que es propiedad de Estados Unidos.
So that shows you na it's reanimating the bottom part of my mouth to match the audio. So yung ipin na yan, hindi ko na ipin yan, no? Masyadong maganda yung ipin ko dyan.
Empresa llamada Scale AI, que proporciona los datos que son...
So now you can create music, you can create video, you can animate avatars. If you put it all together, what can you do? And this is now the latest trend in AI content creation, no?
utilizados por otras empresas.
What's fun about trying different things is the freedom to explore and maybe thinking about where imagination will bring you. Sometimes I wonder if I was less courageous. Where would I land? Good thing fears empower me to strive for the good.
So I created Blue in 30 minutes. I'm not a graphic designer. I just use these 4 tools, which are all commercially available. So that's the question, no? What will happen to content creation now? So I posted that video maybe about a month ago. One half of the reactions were like, wow, no, ang galing. And the other half were, wow, it's scary. Kasi now, you don't know anymore the difference between real and fake. That's a completely AI-generated person. The only thing that is parang semi-real was the voice. So I got a Filipinas voice with permission, of course. You only need a 1-minute clip sa 11 Labs, and then it will generate any text you want. So you can record. Kaya nga, delikado yung mga video sa YouTube. We can now clone their voice. No? Delikado or magaling, no? So even as a content creator, you don't even have to film yourself. You can have AI create the film for you. So this is what people are using AI for, the top 6 use cases. Technical support, content creation, personal support, like a coach, learning, creativity, and decision making. And if you think about this is everything people do in companies, in jobs. And the question is, where does the human end and where does the machine begin? No? I think that's the existential question we're facing now. Okay, so you've heard of the good stuff. Let's talk about the not so good stuff. So kanina I used maximalist hospitality, diba, to create the photos. So I'll use maximalist again. So these are the photos I generated. I don't know if you remember the old Mad magazine covers. It looks very similar. So these are photos generated by the prompt called maximalist journalism. And then yan lumalabas, no? Nice, no? Can you tell what's wrong with the photos? I'll give you a clue. I didn't say maximalist male journalism. And yet 3 out of the 4 photos. Because sa Midjourney kasi, when you put a prompt, 4 photos come out agad. I didn't say maximalist white journalism. And yet all of the photos are white. This is the emerging problem we have with AI. Since we were not a participant in gathering the data and coding it, we are now subject to the bias of these models. And we need to be aware of it. So this is one kind of bias. Here's another. So Google has an image generation tool called Gemini. And then a few months ago, they had to pull it down because of an incident. No? The incident, ito yung example. Give me a photo of a famous 17th century physicist. Notice anything? You don't notice? Maybe this is going to be more obvious. Give me a photo of a 1943 German soldier. You notice the problem? Masyadong diverse. Diverse to the point of probably being wrong. No? You don't see any white men in these photos. Or actually, there is one. He's dead, no? On the lower left. No? This is the problem we have. We either contend with the bias of the data or the bias of the humans putting rules on these models. This is not a solved problem yet. And this is why prompt engineering is important. Because if you're not aware of the bias and you don't know how to compensate for it, may problema, no? Here's ChatGPT. I said, give me a photo of a room with no dogs. And there's a dog. Give me a photo of a beach with no cats. And there's a cat. Give me a photo of a street with no cars. And there are cars. Bakit nangyayari to? Remember the embeddings? Each word is considered individually by the model. So if the moment you say dogs, lalabas yung dogs. It has no sense of no dogs or without cats. To do that, you have to prompt it differently. So this is the solution no, sa Midjourney. Give me an empty room with no dogs. Dogs appear. But then Midjourney has what we call a negative prompt, ~no dogs. Then nawawala siya. If you didn't know how that worked, you would be generating inaccurate photographs. I'm sure in later versions, baka nga by this time they've already fixed this. But this is the problem. We are slowly experiencing the downside impact of these models. So here's an example of many issues that came out immediately after ChatGPT was launched. There was a lawyer in Texas who thought he can use ChatGPT like Google. Humingi siya ng mga cases for his pleading. Not realizing na puro fictional yung cases na lumabas. And he got disbarred, no, or at least penalized. Early on, Samsung engineers were using ChatGPT to correct their code. That's actually one of the first use cases of these tools. You can use it to teach you programming, check your code. Not realizing na at that time, the privacy of the models were not yet secure. So yung code na pinapasok nila in their question, lumalabas pala as answers for some other people. And that's all of Samsung's corporate trade secrets and technology being leaked. I don't know if you can see this photo in the middle. So this is, I don't know if we can zoom this, no? So this is Stability AI being sued by Getty Images. The two photos look very similar, but they're not identical. And that's the issue of copyright with these tools. Kasi you can create any image you want. There will come a point in time where whatever you generate might look very similar to an existing photo. So you have to be careful. I don't know what the position is of people regarding, ChatGPT in schools. Pero that's a problem that people need to figure out. No? If you look closely at this glove, you'll notice it has 6 fingers. I don't know if you noticed that. So it's fake news being passed off as truth. And then I don't know if you guys caught that story about digital sweatshops. That was the video I did earlier. So in Cagayan de Oro, there are freelancers who are doing these image labeling. Kasi that's the raw material for AI. Ang problema, because it's a monopoly who's doing it, they're not being paid properly. They're not even paid minimum wage. Sometimes they're not even paid at all. No, that's a problem. And then now we're reaching election season. And through these tools, you can now create fake, pictures of anyone. Do you recognize this person? I'm not gonna admit it, no? Kung sino yan. But the problem here is, if you look closely, dati kasi yung mga lumang deepfakes, you could tell pa the border between the face and the body, no? Ito hindi. The whole thing is flawless. Yung mga lumang deepfakes that we used to do, this is in 2018, no? In a way, you could tell it was fake, di ba? Like the quality of the face is not the same as the rest of the head, no? I'm not gonna admit either who these people are, no? Pero ngayon, yung mga deepfakes are flawless na. You really cannot tell who they are, no? Imagine mo, matinee idol pala siya dati. But that's fake news, no? And then remember kanina, I created a fake influencer. Who's to stop us from putting words in people's mouths, no? During elections, no?
Knows happy is to feed them stupid entertainment.
Diba? Hindi ko na lang clinone yung voice ng tao to make it safer. Kasi baka i-record nyo to and ikalat nyo sa social media. I'm gonna deny it. Very recently, this circulated on Instagram and Facebook. It's apparently underwater treasure trove of gold bars under the West Philippine Sea. Actually, video yan. It had bubbles and it was kind of blurry. And then the media approached me. Sabi nila, totoo ba to? Sabi ko, obviously it's fake. Number one, if you had a truck underwater, it would not look that pristine, no? And then second, if you've ever done underwater photography, it's usually very dark. You have a spotlight. Ito parang the entire underwater was illuminated, no? Parang under the sea siya, no? So it's obviously fake. But at the time we spotted it, it had already been shared and liked more than 5 million times. And people, of course, will believe anything, no? So this brings me to, I'm at the last part na, no? The word ethics, if you notice, became more popular when AI became popular. And the reason for it is because AI can do many things that we can do, or we used to do. We now need to make sure that they are used properly. And there are many emerging frameworks for ethics. This is my favorite 5, no? If you use AI, you need to be mindful of these 5 things. Is the output accurate? Are you accountable for the output? Is it transparent? You know, is there human oversight over your output? And most importantly, looking at the kanina yung photography, no? Is the output fair? And these are very serious questions that are actually hard. They're really hard to solve for. And I'll give you a clue on why this is a problem. If you look at most technology, IT, programming curricula, they barely have any units on ethics and philosophy. So it's as if one side of the workforce who take humanities and philosophy and even religion, you guys have ethics. But the people building these apps, technologists, they don't. So the skills sana that would have prevented a lot of the misuse are sitting in the wrong places. That means we now need to talk to each other more often. Because the people who know technology, they don't know ethics. And the people who know ethics, they don't know technology. So it'll be too long for me to suggest ideas, no? But certainly we need to put frameworks in place, we need to train people, and we need to collaborate, no? Give you an example of a good set of rules that I've encountered, and this is in academia, no? So Elsevier is an online repository for mga preprints if you want to publish research for journals. And they have specific rules about when you can use AI. In other words, you can use AI to improve your output, but not to generate original ideas. You cannot cite AI as a source because it's just there to improve things. You have to disclose when you use AI. And when you use figures, images, and artwork, you cannot use it to create, original data. No, you have to actually get data and create charts from it. But if you want to use, illustrations, creative illustrations, that's okay, no? And finally, if you're creating research, there has to be a fine line between what ideas AI generated and what humans generated. Ang gaganda ng rules, di ba? But how are you going to enforce it? In fact, there was an article that came out about a few months ago. They did a simple search. A sinerch nila as a large language model. That's a typical output in ChatGPT. And they found thousands of papers that had already been published that contained that phrase. So clearly, it's a fake research paper. So academia is suffering, no, because of this. Okay, last bit. And I'd love to hear questions from everyone. We're almost at the hour already. What's the impact of this on us? I think this is something we need to reflect on. No? It's both positive and negative. So I'm going to dwell on the positives naman ngayon. I think we need to understand what average means. Kasi at the end of the day, AI is the average of everything it ever read. AI is the average of every info that it ever absorbed. So whatever you ask AI, it's going to give you the average. I think the issue that we have, is we don't understand what average really means. Most of us think it's about a bell curve. Most of us are in the middle and you have kind of extremes up and down, no? But actually, we are more on the left, on the right, no? We live in a power curve. In other words, the majority of the value is generated by the minority of the population. That's the Pareto rule. And the average is actually shifted to the left. And if that's where AI is, that means all of us who are laggards can benefit from that. Most likely, we're all laggards. Kukunti lang yung talagang totoong magaling. And if you think about yung mga nagre-reklamo about AI, sila na yung magaling. But for the rest of us who need to learn more, AI can be very powerful, no? So is this just a theory? I'm happy to say that it's not, no? So early last year, they implemented ChatGPT in a call center. So I monitor the BPO industry a lot. And they found that contrary to expectations, everyone was more productive by 14%. But what they found was it was the less experienced contact center agents that had more improvement. They had about 30 to 40% improvement. In another study, si Boston Consulting, it's a consulting firm, they rolled out ChatGPT to some of their consultants. And they found that those with ChatGPT performed better than those without. But amongst those who used ChatGPT, it was the below average performing consultants that benefited more. They had about a 40 to 50% improvement. Imagine 50% in terms of performance. And then a school, the University of Minnesota, they run a randomized controlled trial, talaga experiment. In their law school yan, ha? Lots of documents and cases to read. So those with GPT, expectedly, performed faster than those without. But in terms of quality, it was the less skilled students who improved more. So the stories are very similar. It's people with less skills, less knowledge, nakakahabol sila because of AI. And then on the other side, we have schools that are banning ChatGPT because they don't know how to regulate it. So somewhere there, we have to figure this out. Because I feel we're turning our back on what could potentially be a national, transformation if we armed everyone with these tools. And that leads me mamaya to my mission. No? Microsoft ran a survey sometime last year about sentiment. Not surprisingly, half of their employees were scared of losing their jobs to AI. But 7 out of 10 were curious if AI can reduce their workload. Let's face it, we're all overworked, underpaid. And if AI can come in and fix that, wouldn't that be good? Lastly, this whole art versus AI debate. Parang photography lang yan once upon a time. I feel we need to come to a good middle ground. Certainly, artists' work should be respected. So violating copyright is not a good thing. But then at the same time, art is also full of gatekeepers. Di ka pwede maging artist if you don't know fine arts. But with AI, you can come in. So somewhere in the middle is a compromise that we need to do. So I want to end with this phrase by Melanie Mitchell. No? She's a professor in California. She said, sensationalist claims about AI deflect attention from real risks and could block the benefits we can get from this technology. And I agree with her. We have to stop fearing the change. Just like once upon a time, people were scared of the calculator. The church wanted to burn books once upon a time. Kasi nga it challenged status quo. But now we have a tool that can accelerate. And from the looks of it, it helps people with less ability, with less knowledge, catch up to the average. And that can only be good. One of the things I'm working with the government and BPOs on is what are the jobs of the future? And I think this is a good guide, no? I think pag sinabi kasing AI, again, the word engineer comes to mind, parang ang implication is it's supposed to be for IT only. I think no. That's only one type of job. I call them the builders. We need users, planners, and trainers of AI. And users can be anyone. You don't necessarily need to know how the tools work. Parang kanina I was explaining it. But you need to know how to use them. And that's how to prompt. If you know how to prompt, you can create photos, you can create content, and you can use it for whatever you want, no? As long as it's ethical. Finally, if we learned a lot from photography, we should learn a lot from music. How many here play some form of instrument? Guitar, piano? Hindi na as popular as before. I was forced to learn piano when I was a kid. I should have continued playing, no? But anyway, one of the things you learn is that there are only 88 keys in the piano. And yet, on the basis of the 88 keys, unlimited creative output. People continue to publish music. Can you imagine that? A limited set of keys can produce unlimited music. Could we be on the precipice of something similar, where now you can dissect a photo, convert it into words? Are we not seeing effectively the same thing for art and literature? Na instead of notes and chords, you now have words. And words can become art. I think that's the thing that's grating on some of the artists' minds. Hindi nila matanggap na pwede palang words lang, pwede nang gumawa ng art. But I think that's temporary. Eventually, everyone will embrace it. So to summarize, I hope that wasn't info overload. We talked about generative AI, how to use it, the applications, the ethics, acceptable use, and the impact of it. And of course, I don't think you can learn everything in 1 hour, a little over 1 hour now. So I want to leave you with some Parang ano, things you can pursue after. First is, if you're not thinking of using AI, you should. Kasi it won't be long before it will be a mandatory requirement in every job. So kung ikaw yung last person who knows internet and Microsoft Office, medyo mahirapan ka mag-work. In the same manner, it will be the same for generative AI. Another thing, a more encouraging statistic. Back in 2023, a survey by Electronic Hub, they checked the number of people searching for AI. And would you believe that we are number 1 in the world? Kahit ako hindi naniwala eh. Sabi ko, baka mga estudyante to looking for ways to cheat their essays, no? And then if you look at number 2, 3, and 4, Singapore, UAE, di ba maraming Pinoy dyan? So, something about Filipinos and AI. So, about usage naman, we're number 4 in the world as of last year. And remember, the US and Indonesia have 300 million people. India has 1 billion people. And we're about 100 plus. So somehow, for a population of 100, natatapatan natin sila. So, hindi lang sa Olympics, pati sa AI, no, natatapatan natin sila. In terms of jobs, lots of jobs now are going to be affected by AI. I'm not talking about jobs replaced by AI. Parang ako, I studied accountancy when I was in college. And the hot app back then was Microsoft Excel, no? And Excel didn't replace accounting. Accountants with Excel replaced accountants who didn't use Excel. So you'll hear that a lot. You will not lose your job to AI. You will lose your job to people using AI. No? I think that's very true. And then, this was probably an exaggeration, but sometime last year, a company was actually looking to hire prompt engineers, people who knew how to prompt. No IT background needed, and the package was about $300,000 a year. You do the math on how much that is, no? I'm sure over time that thing will get more reasonable, but that means companies are going to hire people with this skill. So first, freebie. I'm not as popular as the priest influencers earlier, no, but I do have a YouTube channel. So please follow me on YouTube. I have about 200 videos. youtube.com/@docligot. And then, if you have time pa, I know, naantok na kayo, but please pass by our booth at the back. I actually offer prompt engineering classes, completely online, via Zoom. My next class is going to be this Thursday. It's a series of 3 classes. Actually, the talk I gave now is actually the intro, but I want to talk about these latter 2 classes. So these are 3-hour workshops, completely online, where I'll teach you how to use prompt engineering. Now, I used to offer this only to companies, no? Yan yung rate. But for the public, instant 50% off. But before I ask you to invest, let me first show you what you will learn. First, every chatbot that's useful, we will use. Hindi lang ChatGPT. Every image generation tool that's useful, we will use. Hindi lang Midjourney. I'll teach you about the patterns in prompt engineering, yung RAG kanina, how you can integrate it with your documents. The output of chatbots isn't just text. It can be code, it can be tables, it can be pictures. We're going to study generative AI art. You're going to learn all of these art styles from there's already a long list of art styles. We're actually going to teach you how to do deepfakes, because the best way to fight it is to know how it's done. And then finally, we're going to learn all of the use cases of AI. Everything we will learn in the workshop will be in a Trello workspace, which is lifetime access if you take it. And then those who sign up will immediately get a whole ton of freebies, no? Mga 30 cheat sheets that you can use immediately. And I think most importantly, especially for those who are still starting their careers, we are the first to certify people as prompt engineers. So if you take this, you can get certified. So again, the public price is this, but I told the organizers that I'll give a special offer. So for those who attend today, and if you sign up within 48 hours, you can get it for these prices na lang. So go to docligot/webinars. Di yan tatagal. If you want to take both classes, you can use this QR code. No? You can take both classes for 1.5 na lang. All right? So, or you go to docligot.com/bundle. No? And again, the point here I want to share with you is, this is not a profiteering thing. No? I've been doing AI for almost 30 years. This is my way of just keep it sustainable para lang tuloy-tuloy. Because I feel that we're sitting on a major transformation for the Philippines. So this is my mission. I want to train 1 million AI practitioners, starting with the people here. No? So if you are interested, please follow me on any social media, pati TikTok. I actually was out of Facebook for 12 years because of privacy concerns. No? But I felt I needed to come back to share this. Kasi sayang kung kukunti lang yung ganyan. And I feel data science made that mistake. Parang konti lang yung mga data scientists. So AI, we want to spread it as much as possible. So to end, I want to share one more video. Paano lang ng audio, no? So this is Prompt Engineering Masterclass, so you know what you're getting into.
No matter what industry you're in, you can speak to AI anytime. Their embedded streams of information contain the code to better outcomes. But to crack this code, you need to have the right skills and the right mentor. Introducing Prompt Engineering courses powered by Doc Legot. Prompt Engineering can optimize AI interactions in any situation and output vast amounts of text and image data. By crafting precise prompts, prompt engineers can use any AI model to unlock productivity, creativity, and knowledge. Those who attended our courses know how to speak the language of AI. They understand the use cases and the industries they serve. They know which prompt structures to use, so they can develop the right solutions. Using prompt engineering, our trainees learn how to enhance AI performance and accuracy, and find new ways to improve their work. Over 1,000 knowledge workers have taken our prompt engineering courses and enjoy higher accuracy, better user experience, and greater efficiency. Prompt Engineering by Doc Legot, leveraging AI for better outcomes. This ad was created with AI.
So everything there was created by AI. So with that, I want to thank you for giving me time today. If you want to reach out to me, go to doclegot.com. Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much, Doc Legot, and may we call on stage Reverend Father Yildi and of course our ECSE Chairman, Bishop Junie Maralit, for the certificate of appreciation and some tokens, and of course our photo op.